that's just, I like this time of the year. And I just wanted to start out this morning just taking a minute and just acknowledging, recognizing, and for us at the forefront of our minds, no matter who we are, just with teachers and administrators and school boards, teachers' aides, counselors, the stress of what's either already started for some or starting tomorrow for others or later this week. And man, this is just a hard place for them to be. And even this last week, we have a podcast on Wednesday nights that's live, and Adam Wood was on there that teaches at Bar Wise, and just hearing him and just like a love for students and wanting to keep them safe, wanting them to learn, but nobody knows what they're doing, you know? And so for us to have them in the forefront of our minds, our students, and I wanted to take a minute, I just wanted to pray before we start today. Father God, you're all-knowing and all-powerful. Nothing surprises you. And we're here in this time in history. And I just ask that for parents, for us to have a peace of just knowing that our children are yours before they're ours. For teachers, for people who are making decisions in the weight of that there would be a faith, a trust, a grace that is just overwhelming. And so, God, I ask that in the days ahead that we are mindful and that we know that you are in control and that our trust increases more and more. I pray that today, during this time, in this moment, that you would speak to us individually, personally. You know us. And so speak to us today. I pray this, Jesus, in your name. Amen. We're going to start this series today called You Do You. And this is like a common phrase, especially over the last few months, that can be either endearing and encouraging, or it can also be negative. Okay, so, you know, like my kids, especially my daughter, she's her own person. She's unique. She doesn't really care what people think, you know. She's just going to do it. And I'm like, you do you, girl. Like, that's, you know, like, that's you. You do it. You wear that, whatever. But then also on the negative side of things, you know, it's like, oh, this person doesn't agree with me about this whole pandemic thing and virus and what I'm supposed to do and what they're supposed to do, and they're doing this. And then politically, it's like, oh my gosh, she's got a Trump flag, or oh my gosh, you know, and we go all over and like, you do you, moron. You know, that's like, that's what we mean when we say it. And so it seems like right now in culture that culture wants to distract us and really to divide us and focus on our differences. And I think there's a better way for us to approach this season that we're coming into. No matter who you are or where you are in life, there's a better approach than focusing on our differences. I don't know where you are spiritually. Those of you watching online, I don't know where you are. I don't know history, background. I don't know hurts. I don't know experiences with church or church people, perceptions of God, any of that. But I think that we can all agree that there is good and evil in this world. Can we all, like, those of you in here, you can do this because I know you're here. Those of you online, you can say yes. Like, yes, there's good and evil. I mean, there's no explanation other than evil of how a 5-year-old boy gets shot in his front yard by a neighbor, and there's no beef at all with the families. There's evil when we see children who are stolen and sold and bought to be exploited sexually, physically. There's evil all around us. There's evil when we see that suicide is the second leading cause of death for those ages 10 to 34. There's a battle that's going on. Those things don't just happen automatically. And while we're focused on all these distractions and our differences and you do you, listen to me, there's a battle for you. There's a battle spiritually for you. There's a battle for our attention and our thoughts. And our thoughts lead to actions. And so this is something that I want us over the course of the weeks here to think about is how I think is linked to what I do, okay? We can play this out in so many different scenarios. I mean, one of the things that I try to do just for myself, because I need it, and along with my kids, I'll tell them all the time, today's a great day to have a great day, right? It is. I want to start the day with that thinking about what today could be like. Every day is a new day, and a lot that goes on during that day has to do with how I think about it. Circumstances, they're not what dictate my attitude, my perception of what's going on in my perspective. We see this when it comes to our thinking being linked to what we do. If we're behind and we're in a hurry and we leave the house and we need to get somewhere, so then what do we do on the way to the place that we need to go? We speed. We run stop signs. I mean, this morning, I got pulled over. No joke, on the way to the gym, I got pulled over and I was like, what am I doing? Because I've made it a habit now on the road that I drive down. I just set the cruise control because I will just floor it, you know? He pulled me over. It wasn't for that. I didn't get a ticket. It was great. But I was like, oh, today's a great day to have a great day. Pull me over. We have to remember this, that how I think is linked to what I do, okay? And now we can all admit that we made some bad decisions in life, right? Come on. Yes. Maybe some of you ladies, you think about some of the guys you dated back in high school and college. That was a horrible decision. Horrible. Maybe there's the car that you just wanted so bad and you stretched it so you could finance it. And then by the time you got there, you're like, I overextended myself, and that was a horrible decision. Or you're at the party and you're like, oh, it's midnight. I should probably go home. But you don't. And then you have a few more drinks. And then the next day you're like, that was a bad decision. We all make bad decisions. We all do. And we've all done things that we're not proud of. But when it comes to these decisions, even a follower of Jesus, a super Christian named Paul, he had this same battle that we all have. Look at this real quick. He says, I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway. Anybody feel me with that? Like, yeah, how many of you can just identify with this? I want to do this, but I don't. And so our thoughts often lead to actions, what we do. And this wavers. He goes on, he says this, but if I do what I don't want to do, I'm not really the one doing wrong. It is sin living in me that does it. I said sin, it's in you, it's in me. That's just the truth. I have discovered this principle in life that when I want to do what's right, I inevitably do what is wrong. Are y'all in the struggle with me on this? Okay. He points out the problem. And the problem that we're all having isn't our circumstances or the hand that we're dealt in life, okay? The problem with you is what's in you. That's right. The problem with me is what's in me. I end up doing what I don't want to do. And what I know I shouldn't do, I end up doing it. It happens to me all the time. It's the sin in me. It's the sin in me. And none of us are perfect. We're all sinners. And the decisions that we make lead to our habits and behaviors. And they don't just happen automatically. He goes on, he says this, look at where the battle takes. I love God's law with all my heart, but there is another power within me that is at war with my mind. My mind. This power makes me a slave to sin, the sin that it is, the sin that's within me. There's this battle, this another power within me, this battle with my mind. This is the Greek word nous, and it's just a God-given ability to reason and to think, okay? There's an ongoing battle up here in our minds, and it affects what we do, our behavior. How I think is linked to what I do. Our minds are powerful. Out of all creation, God created the human brain unlike anything else. You have 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000. One piece of brain matter the size of a sand grain has 100,000 neurons that are connected to synapses like over 5 trillion, and things travel at a speed of almost 300 miles an hour just up here. There's nothing like the human brain, our minds, and how we've been created. And the battle up here influences how we behave. But so many of us, getting back to this you do you, we're so focused on behavior, what people are doing. We're so focused on behavior modification instead of life transformation.
Yes.
We just look at what's going on the outside. We're so focused on that. And we're missing the silent internal sabotage of who we are and who we're created to be. This today just set the foundation for the next 2 months of what we're going to be talking about on Sundays. Who always precedes do. Always. Who we are. It's important. And what I mean by this is who we are and who we think we are. It's so important. Follow me on this. Unhealthy identity leads to unhealthy habits. Unhealthy habits support an unhealthy identity. And the same is true. A healthy identity, it leads to healthy habits. Healthy habits support a healthy identity. So before we can even start talking about what you're doing and what I'm doing, let's just talk about you. Wherever you are right now in life, some of you here in the room, some of you watching online right now, there's a very real battle when it comes to you and who you think you are. And the answer to this question about who you think you are and even who you think God is, I'm telling you, if we don't get this right, it will plague us our entire lives. Day after day, year after year. We go through life. There is tragedy, there is hurt, there is pain. There are things that you've gone through that I've never experienced, things that I've gone through that you haven't. Your story's not my story. But I can tell you this, that all of us in life have come across some times, and we're carrying things around us, and those things can be deep wounds from the past that have never healed. That whenever we come across something or in a certain situation, there's a trigger and it rips the scab off. And it's never healed. Some of us have gone through life and we've experienced loss, and we don't know as a culture how to grieve. And we have ungrieved losses in our life that we carry around, that we just keep on moving and think we can just push through. And I'm telling you right now, 10, 20, 30 years later, it's still there. And for some of us too, we have these false beliefs, these things that we've either thought ourselves or have been said to us at a young age that we have clung to. And we can still hear those words spoken to us, about us. But we've never unwrapped that and said, no, this is the truth. Over time, there's this residue, this darkness, the hurt, the pain, and it has a residual effect. It just builds up. And we become confused about who we are and our identity, who we are made to be. A lot of us have been hurt, or we are hurting right now. And we have these false beliefs about ourselves, about God, about other people. So no matter where you are in life, no matter what you believe spiritually, I think we can all start at this from the same place, okay? So just follow me here. We're created. You're created. You didn't have anything to do with you being born into this world, did you? I'm just making sure. Okay, if you do, let's talk, man. Like, you had nothing to do with that. You didn't make you, all right? And now look at this. For in him, in Jesus, all things were created. That includes us. Things in heaven, on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things, that includes you and me, have been created through him and for him. Jesus, he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. I don't know about you, I have nothing to do with the earth spinning on its axis. I have nothing to do with ecosystems or solar systems. I have nothing to do with seasons and what the temperature is going to be today because I wish it was cooler already. Like, I have nothing to do with that. And you don't either. All things created by him, for him. So the one who made your heart and began the beating of your heart, the one who created your lungs and brought you into existence and breathed life into your body, who does he say you are? Who does he say you are? Well, we fight this battle in our minds with the truth. And this thinking comes into question. Who am I? And the problem for so many of us, including myself, is that we focus on these behaviors and we forget the truth of who he says we are. So today, hear me out on this. I am not what I do. You are not what you do. You're a human being, not a human doing. And we have these thoughts that sabotage our identity. That what we do, good or bad, is who we are. Me. Pastor. Right? Is that who I am? Because I can tell you this, I wasn't a pastor before. 20 years ago. Husband. If something happens to my wife, am I a husband? For some of you right now, sitting here, online, pilot, here you are, out of all the places God sent you to Wichita Falls, Texas, in the heat of the summer. Oh, Good and evil. It might have been evil. I don't know. Some of you, you get that promotion and you're like, oh, yes. So now I'm the manager. So I'm the boss, I'm over everybody. Some of you right now in life, you walk around with this. You say, I'm a student. So I am. I'm a student. I go to school. No, it's what you do. School will be over. One day you will not be a pilot. One day you will not be a manager. Things will change in life. That's not who you are. Our minds are powerful enough to create these rhythms and reinforce things that are not true about you. And it's not just our careers or our jobs or good things that sabotage our identity. How I think is linked to what I do. All right, y'all ready? Buckle in. Here we go. Look at this. Forever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky through everything God made. They can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power, his divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God. Yes, they knew God, but they wouldn't worship him as God or even give him thanks. And they begin to think up foolish ideas of what God was like. As a result, their minds became dark and confused. This word here, confused, dialogismos, and this is where we get the word dialogue. This is this internal back and forth reasoning, the reasoning of those who think of themselves to be wise, reasoning that is self-based and therefore confused. Self-based reasoning leads to confused thinking. I mean, have you ever been wrong about anything? Can you imagine arguing with the guy that's like, hey, listen, man, the earth is flat. You're like, no. Like, have you seen satellite? Yeah, that Hubble stuff, man, Photoshop, all that, they can do that, man. It's flat, I'm telling you. I believe what I think. Is confused. Self-interest thinking, this self-based thinking, it blinds us to the truth, and it affects what we do and what we think about who God is and who we think we are. This goes on. They traded the truth about God for a lie, so they worshiped and served the things God created instead of the Creator himself, who is worthy of eternal praise. Amen. That is why God abandoned them to their shameful desires. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex and instead indulged in sex with each other, and the men, instead of having normal sexual relations with women, burned with lust for each other. Men did shameful things with other men, and as a result of this sin, they suffered within themselves the penalty they deserved. Since they thought it foolish to acknowledge God, he abandoned them to their foolish thinking and let them do things that should never be done. Foolish thinking leads to foolish actions. How I think is linked to what I do. Now, I just read that. Some of you got real hung up on the sexual relations part, men, women, women. I know you did. So, let's go. Logan was 100% on point last week when he said that we are so selective about the sin that we hate, and we are also selective about the sinners we hate. And the church has been notoriously off when it comes to this specific topic. And I mean off in hating a sin, but then there's other things we're okay with. Over the years, I've had so many different conversations with people. One-on-one conversations of like, hey, I'm going to have this operation. I'm starting this hormone therapy. I'm gonna have a change. And knowing this person closely, I can have the response of, do you think that God made a mistake? Do you think that the Creator messed up? Do you see this thinking and where it leads? It takes us down this trail. The conversations that say, I'm gay. The conversations that say, I'm a homosexual. Or the conversations, the thinking that leads to, I'm bisexual. This is not who God made you to be. This is what you do, how you change the way we live based upon the way we think. Do you understand that? The way we think leads to how we live and what we do. But like I said, what we do, that's not you. Here's the problem. Who am I? Who am I? I'm not the one that created all this. I'm not the one that created you or me. That's not me. But what happens when I step in and I say, no, I'm going to change the creation? We've now put ourselves in the place of God. And this is where it comes to the confused thinking of like, I'm right. This is what I think. I feel this way. Therefore, this is how I now am going to live based on what I think. I am who he says I am, the Creator. Not what my sometimes confused mind thinks as it wavers. Now, some of y'all are feeling real comfortable right now, or maybe a little uncomfortable. I don't know. But here we go. Remember, they begin to think up foolish ideas what God was like, and as a result, their minds became dark and confused. You ready? Their lives became full of every kind of wickedness: sin, greed, hate, envy, murder, quarreling, deception, malicious behavior, and gossip. They're backstabbers, haters of God, insolent, proud, and boastful. They invent new ways of sinning, and they disobey their parents. They refuse to understand. They break promises, are heartless, and have no mercy. They know God's justice requires that those who do these things deserve to die, yet they do them anyway. Worse yet, they encourage others to do them too. Who's wearing the t-shirt? Says I'm greedy. Anybody? Who's saying this is me? This is who I am? Who's saying I'm a hater? I hate people. I hate you. Who's wearing this one right here? Man, I sure am envious. I'm envious. That's who I am. That neighbor that got the Tahoe, I'm so envious. This might get a little closer. I'm a gossiper. It's who I am. It's just who I am. Man, we all want to be known for this one right here. I'm a backstabber. Man, I'll say one thing to your face, but man, behind your back, it's who I am. This one's probably the best one right here because nobody wants to own it. Prideful. It's all about me. I know what's best. I have this arrogance about myself. This is who I am. Get this printed on t-shirts, just wear it around all the time. I am prideful. We're all on the list, right? We're all on the list. Because what you do is not who you are, good or bad. Vocation, profession, things you don't want people to know about you. Those are behaviors that are not your identity. Actions aren't our identity. We have to change the way we think about who we are and why we do what we do. The who comes before the do. Who's God? Who am I? So over the next few weeks, we're going to look at this scripture right here, because this is what some of us are feeling in our lives, some of us who are followers of Jesus, and some of us who are in this place where we are not really sure. Since you've heard about Jesus and have learned the truth that comes from him, since you've heard about Jesus, I'm going to assume that a lot of people here, those of you online, heard about Jesus. You heard about him. But let me tell you that the truth, he is the truth.
That's right.
He was there in the beginning when everything was created. He was there when you were created. He knows you. He knows your first breath. And he also knows those things and those things that we do in our life, those decisions that we make when we don't do what we know we should do. He knows that we're sinners. God knows this because we all are, but God wants to have a relationship with you and with me. But God is holy, we're not. He's perfect, and we are not. Jesus, God in the flesh, came to earth, walked among us. He identifies with us in our struggle. In everything that we take on, he knows it. He faced it, and he walked through it perfectly. And he was despised and rejected, and he was killed so that we could be made right with God. He gave his life as a sacrifice once and for all time for all people, that whoever places their faith and trust in him can be made right with God, not based upon what we do, but based upon who Jesus is. Yes. And we gain a new identity in him.
That's right.
That is the new life, the new creation. We still have this struggle, this battle, but that who we are is what we're going to talk about for the next 3 weeks. Who we're created to be in him, his perfectness. Since you've heard about Jesus and have learned the truth that comes from him, throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. This is a process, and this renewal happens daily. You're not going to be perfect tomorrow in what we do. But God looks at Jesus and sees him as our perfection. I have 2 questions. I'm not going to wrap this up with some sweet story and just put a bow on it and just make it all nice and neat and we all walk out of here with this, oh, that was so good today. No. No. I really want you to process this over this week. Who am I? Just write it. You can even just take out a sheet of paper in your phone and just start writing a list. And you can write down some of those things like, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a son, I'm a brother, what I do for a living, I'm this, I'm that, I'm kind, I'm compassionate, I'm caring, I'm funny, whatever you want to say about yourself. Who am I? Get it all out. Get it all out. And I want you to think about that. Who am I? But who is it that God says I am? And the next question that I want you to process is this. Who am I trying to become? Are you trying to become this person for your parents? Are you trying to prove yourself? Because there's some of those things, the deep wounds and the ungrieved losses, or there's some false beliefs that you have about yourself that you're trying to prove yourself and who you are? Are you trying to become someone else because you look up to them? Are you trying to be an Instagram influencer? Is that who you're trying to be? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Because if we don't get this one thing right, our thinking is off, and then we start making these decisions in life, and we end up at a place, who knows where. But I can tell you, if it's not based around who God says you are, it's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment. Who am I trying to become? Would you bow your heads? I know that today, every single one of you here, you made a choice to be here. You made a decision to be here. And I believe with everything in me that today is really about, for some that are followers of Jesus, some of you here today are at a place where maybe you've been chasing a wrong identity. There might have been some things planted, and now there's been a pursuit of who you're trying to become, but you know better. And so today's just a reality check. A time to come, a time to confess and say, God, thank you. Thank you for reeling me back in. And God, I pray right now for those in that place, those who do know you, but that pull, that struggle of the mind, I just ask for this peace, this confidence, this just assurance that identity as a son or daughter of the Most High, that does not change. That you are a loving Father, that you are good, and that when things come in life, when heartache comes, when struggles come, when unforeseen tragedies happen, that identity is rock solid because of you, Jesus. For some of you here this morning, the Spirit of God planted thoughts in your mind to be here. You made decisions. Some of you online, it wasn't a coincidence that you were watching and listening. The Creator of all wants you to know that you are loved, so much so that this Jesus would take on what you deserve, that he would give his life, that he would step in and say, I love them, I take the punishment, I take death, I give my life. And this Jesus did this. He gave his life. He died and rose from the dead, proved that he is God. He's defeated death and sin and Satan, and he offers us new life in him. Jesus is the one who makes us right with God. There's nothing we can do to be right with God. It all hinges on Jesus and who he is and what he has done. It's by grace that you're saved, and anyone who calls on the name of Jesus is saved. And so today, I ask for those of you who are here in this room, those online, if this is where you are and you believe that the Spirit of God is drawing you, I'll be down here at the front. We'll be people down here at the front. God, may we walk in this newness of life that you, Jesus, offered. We are not what we do. We are who you say we are, and it's all because of Jesus. And I pray this in his name.